Happy Thursday. We're going to try this again. The other live stream didn't seem to work. So we'll be doing chapter 15 in the New Living Translation. And we'll be reading about the Lord's covenant promise to Abram. Sometime later, the Lord spoke to Abram in a vision and said to him, "Do not be afraid, Abram, for I will protect you, and your reward will be great." So we see that Abram is already being promised that he will receive a great reward and that he will be protected by God. But Abram replied, "O sovereign Lord, what good are all your blessings when I don't even have a son? Since you have given me no children, Eleazar of Damascus, a servant in my household, will inherit all my wealth." So we see that back then it was culturally acceptable for slaves and servants to inherit the household stuff of their masters. "You have given me no descendants of my own, so one of my servants will be my heir." So we see Abraham is worried that a servant is going to be his heir because God has not blessed him with his own children. Then the Lord said to him, "No, your servant will not be your heir, for you will have a son of your own who will be your heir." Then the Lord took Abraham outside and said to him, "Look up at the sky and count the stars if you can. That's how many descendants you will have." So we see God is promising Abraham that he will have as many descendants as stars in the sky. And Abraham believed the Lord, and the Lord counted him as righteous because of his faith. So we see that God counted this righteousness to Abraham because Abraham had faith. Then the Lord told him, "I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land as your possession." But Abraham replied, "O sovereign Lord, how can I be sure that I will actually possess this?" So we're going to see here that the Lord is about to make an everlasting covenant with Abraham. The Lord told him, Bring me a 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old female goat, a 3-year-old ram, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon." So Abraham presented all these to him and killed them. Then he cut each animal down the middle and laid the halves side by side. He did not, however, cut the birds in half. So we see he cut all the animals in half down the middle but the birds. Some vultures swooped down to eat the carcasses, but Abraham chased them away. Now we know that vultures will swarm wherever there is a dead carcass. So we see Abraham here chasing them away so Abraham can make a covenant with the good Lord. As the sun was going down, Abraham fell into a deep sleep, and a terrifying darkness came down over him. Then the Lord said to Abraham, "You can be sure that your descendants will be strangers in a foreign land where they will be oppressed as slaves for 400 years. So we see God is already foretelling that the Israelites will be enslaved in Egypt for 400 years, or as we'll read soon, for 4 generations. "But I will punish the nation that enslaves them, and in the end they will come away with great wealth. As for you, you will die in peace and be buried at a ripe old age." So we see that God is going to let Abraham die in peace and be buried at a ripe old age. And then after, all these hardships will happen to the Israelites. "After 4 generations, your descendants will return here to this land, for the sins of the Amorites do not yet warrant their destruction." So we see that the sins of the Amorites haven't yet amounted to what God sees as justifiable destruction. So for 4 generations, the Israelites will be in Egypt until it is time to drive the Amorites and all the others out. After the sun went down and darkness fell, Abraham saw a smoking fire pot and a flaming torch pass through the halves of the carcasses. So the Lord made a covenant with Abraham that day and said, I have given this land to your descendants, and all the way from the border of Egypt to the great Euphrates River, the land now occupied by the Kenites, Kenizzites, Cadmonites, Hittites, Perizzites, Reaphites, Amorites, Canaanites, Girgashites, and Jebusites. And that is the end of chapter 15. But we see in the end here that God lists all the people that are going to be driven out from the land that will become Israel. And we see that they'll have quite a bit to drive out, but God will do it slowly and build up the Israelites first, and he will drive out the people that slowly, so that the animals do not overtake them. So we'll come up and read that soon. Thank you for joining me for another reading out of the New Living Translation. And tomorrow we read the birth of Ishmael, chapter 16. So as we see, Abraham's family is going to continue to grow, and we're going to see all these different descendants come about that come from Abraham. And eventually we will get to where Israel is a large country, and when the Egyptians will drive them out. Thank you for reading and with me, and I hope you have a blessed day. May God grant you many blessings and love. God bless.